Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, all right, an energetic crowd. Welcome to Mixon Business Center, and Devin's going to be here telling you more about the facility and welcome you officially as a representative of the center. I'm Steve Turkowski with the Dothan Area Chamber of Commerce, and our little group here consists of Richard Voss, Troy University, Devin Turkowski with the Mixon Business Center, McRoyce Corbett with his own business, we coordinate these events. As you know, some of you have been here before. We have a series of events. We usually start out with the brainstorming and then go through that series. We're debating about what the next program is going to be, but this one, if you saw the flyer, is it's basically a two-part. I think the flyer only mentioned the one of them, but we're basically going to talk about financing options, and we're also going to talk about professional relationships with an attorney and with a bank and with an accountant. And McRoyce would like to start this off with introductions for you that are participating here. So looks like we got somebody else coming in. So let's go ahead and is there somebody else coming right there? Okay, let's go ahead and start just with introductions, if you don't mind, please.
Darren Williams, my wife Wanda Williams. We've been coming to the businesses, we're interested in getting started up in small businesses, but now we're looking at some real estate. So
Do you currently have a business, or are you working for somebody else?
We started a corporation, and we're in the process of purchasing some real estate property, some rental property.
I got you. Okay. All right.
Hi, I'm Jackie Roscoe, and I am the owner of J&J Beauty Supplies in Braga Studio, and I've been in business 6 years.
Okay.
This is my first time to the meeting. I'm just here to get some information on some funding for my business.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Tim Walton III. I'm mainly interested in either starting a screen printing business, wireless networking business, or anything with electricity. Next, I graduated with associates in electronic technology.
Okay, understand. You're at Wallace College?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Reuben Gibson. I'm owner of Who's Next Barbershop and Salon, located on 1156 Reed Street. This is my first time here, and I'm just seeking knowledge and expanding my business.
Okay.
Because I am going to have more than one shop at one time, so I need it.
Okay, outstanding. Think big. McRoyce is going to video this program if you have no objections. Anybody have any objections about that? They make you famous. Okay, with that, McRoyce, did you want to say anything, or do you want me to introduce Brent?
Well, I guess you can go ahead and introduce Brent. Everybody knows me. I'm McRoyce Corbett, on a computer printing, etc., a local business here in town. And our whole purpose is to help you grow your business, get started, and hopefully make Dothan a better place through economic development.
All right, and we have Brent McMahon here. He's the Mobile Office Small Business Administration, an expert in many things to do with small business, and he's brought with him today 2 guests who he'll introduce to talk about the Angel Investing Network and other financing options.
Thank you. We have participants coming in even as we speak. I'm Brent McMahon. I work for the federal government, and I'm here to help you. No, honestly, I really am. I really am. And I help small business wannabe owners and owners every day. And I really enjoy it, because I meet a lot of good people, a lot of people who have great ideas, and people who want to make a difference, not only for others and their customers, but also for themselves. SBA is a very small federal agency, a little over 3,000 employees, so we can't possibly project the federal government through that agency to all of the nuanced sections of the American economy spread across this big continent and make a difference without local partners. And so our work is largely done through partnerships. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and explain how those partnerships work on your behalf. And then I hope we will have a really thoroughgoing session with Mr. Bo Magazine and Davis, who's here from the Angel Investment Network. And then if we have time, we're going to talk a little bit about professional services at the end. But we wanted to kick off by talking about ways for you to finance your business. We all know that financing is the single greatest hurdle for starting a business. And it's particularly true for people who grow up in an environment without inherited wealth. And that's a fact of life for a lot of Alabamians. There are a lot of Alabama families who don't inherit a sizable nest egg from their mother or dad or their grandparents. They don't have home ownership all too often, and they don't have equity in their home to serve as the collateral for making loans. So the issue is acute for them in terms of finding seed capital to start a business. And we're going to talk some about how that role that SBA plays with its partners can make a difference in that regard. The Small Business Administration, as I mentioned, is the smallest federal agency. We were chartered in 1953 with the motto of the mandate to help small business start, grow, and succeed. And we've been doing that for these many decades. And we work primarily, as I mentioned, through local partnerships. We fund a network, several networks of counseling agencies, because the real job of starting a small business begins not with putting the money in your pocket first, but first of all, analyzing what you're attempting to do and making sure that it makes economic sense. To do that analysis with you as a counseling function, we actually provide through a series of grants local partners who work with you. One such partnership is the Alabama Small Business Development Center Network, located at every four-year college in the state and paid for through a big grant from the University of Alabama matching SBA dollars. There are counselors, full-time paid counselors, who work from those SBDCs around the state to help with counseling wannabe small business owners on how to do it right. Now, I'm proud to say that one of my close friends in that network is Sandra Lucas, who's the executive director of the Troy University SBDC in Troy, Alabama. And she comes to the Dothan Chamber once a month.
Once a month, I think it's the second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday. She and Judy Callan, who's her prime assistant, and they meet with people who want to start small businesses. And they counsel them in a thoroughgoing way and in a way that's very helpful. Their primary purpose in counseling is to do that planning, get that wannabe small business owner or that business owner who wants to expand his business to plan for that endeavor. Because if you don't plan at the beginning, you'll regret it later. And the business either will fall flat on its face and you'll leave discouraged and despairing and often in terrible debt from your endeavor, worse off by far than if you had never started. Or the business grows fast enough that it overwhelms the owner. They simply don't know how to manage it. They don't know how to properly hire employees, for example, to be extensions of themselves as the business outgrows the single entrepreneur owner. So business planning is absolutely essential. It's essential at the front because you want to know if the endeavor that you're putting your sweat and blood and money into is going to be economically feasible. There are a lot of people who are inherently optimistic in America, and that's a great thing about our country, but in terms of starting a small business, often it is an enemy because you think things are going to turn out all right as long as you're determined and you work hard and you keep your foot on the pedal, so to speak, working hard and for troubles or hurdles that you meet, often it means you're trying to work harder. But without proper analysis of the proper tools to use to start and run a business, often that work is futile. And what these business plan counselors can help you do is stage by stage analyze what you need to do to make sure that business is paying its own way and, most importantly, paying you for the endeavor. Business plans. They're often called business proposals or business cases. And fundamentally, they do the same thing. They persuade you that this business makes economic sense. In other words, it's going to pay me to get involved. And it's going to show you the stages of how that business will evolve so that you can handle it properly at each stage. One of the things you need to learn is how to market the business. And first of all, how to market it without spending any money. You need to know how to track your cost. It's amazing how many people go into small business and never realize what a product or a service that they sell actually cost. So they don't know if they're making money or not. So those are aspects of the business plan. And I would urge you, if you haven't already done a plan and you want to do a business, to get help. You can start with Steve and he can direct you to Sandra and other help in this area. We want you to be prepared objectively with a business plan before you start. Now there's a second purpose for that plan. It is the primary document for you to give to an investor or a lender who wants to help you. Without it, you're simply sticking your hand out. But if you have it, it's a cogent, comprehensive look-see for someone who's interested in what you're doing and wants to help you with finances, either equity or debt. And it's a persuasive tool for you to project who you are and the thoroughness that you're about as you start this business or you operate this business. So it's absolutely essential for lenders and investors. You won't get anywhere without a business plan. Now that applies to an existing business as well as one that has yet to start. You need to analyze, as an existing business owner, where you are, how much money you've made, where you see the business going in the near future, and most importantly for an investor or a lender, what are you going to do with the money that you're asking them for, and how is it going to make you more economically successful? That's a key question. It's right up there next to the most important question for a lender, and that is, how are you going to pay me back? You've got to be able to show that the money that you're seeking will help you be more productive, more economically successful, have higher margins so that you can pay the lender back. So the business plan, absolutely essential. One of the things that we have found as we work with people on business plans is that frequently the business wannabe owner has a grandiose plan for the establishment he wants to own and operate in a way that's way beyond his resources or her resources. They quite naturally project what their business will be if it's successful into a image or a scheme as they're starting. In other words, the very first thing they want to do is run out and buy a storefront or rent or lease a storefront and buy an expensive sign and be on the radio with paid advertising or television, and customers will just flood through the doors. That's the absolute wrong way to start a small business. What we want you to realize as you do the business plan is you need to prove the concept. And what that means is you need to make sure that you have something that people will buy. And you do that by starting small with the first customer, and the second, and the third. And as you do that, you'll find that you learn more about what you're making, what you're providing, and you learn how to tweak it and go off in this direction versus the direction you thought it would be. And so your business has more value. You can charge a higher margin because you're creating a satisfied customer list, and you're altering your product in order to make it more successful in the marketplace based on what your customers are telling you as they're buying your product. You can only do that if you start small. It's what's called the lean start. Start with the first customer. Make sure that you know your cost. And then let him or her tell you what's wrong with your product or how it can be better. Or what's good about it. And if it's got good attributes, then of course you want to play those up even as you move away from the bad things that may detract from the product or service. So business planning, absolutely essential. Some real truisms there that I hope if you do a plan that you'll take with you and keep always close at hand. One of the truisms of the business plan is something that most of you already know the hard way, I'm afraid, and that is that cash is king. You need to preserve every dollar you can, minimize your expenses, maximize your short-term revenue opportunities, and spend your money wisely, because cash is king. Without cash, you have no freedom of action, unless you get somebody else to give you cash in the form of debt or equity. And those inputs from others who have money are going to become the controlling interest in your business. The people with cash are the kings. You want to be the king in your business. So you must preserve your cash and use it wisely to make a business go. And there are a lot of other truisms that you'll learn, if you haven't already, but you'll learn as you work with others and talk to valuable counselors. We hope we'll have time tonight to briefly go through how a small business can profit from having wise counselors, especially in specialized areas. Two quick examples. An accountant can tell you where you've been monetarily, numerically, and what your margins are, and what your costs are, what your taxes are on every product you sell. An accountant is indispensable, a CPA, and you'll want to quickly find one and use them appropriately. Second, social media expertise. I cannot tell you how often I'm in seminars where the small business owners want to know how to use social media. It's free. It's word of mouth advertising, really accelerated through this new internet age. And it enables you to reach customers through word of mouth with satisfied customer stories. And that is very powerful. In fact, I've met small business owners who started a small business and they have become known through social media, the various kinds, and their business has simply just ramped up so fast they can't keep up with it. And I've known some who don't know anything about social media, have never used it, and their businesses flounder and are never discovered. So be wise in terms of seeking coaching and counseling on social media. And there are other things we'll talk about as we get into the professional services. Let me complete my story on SBA. SBA has counselors. I've mentioned those. We have the Women's Business Center Network. It's really remarkably like the SBDC network. It's smaller. It's designed to help small business owners who are women And thirdly, we have the SCORE chapters. These are teams of volunteer retired business owners who give back by coming in to coach wannabe small business owners. All of those services from those three networking counseling agencies are free. You may occasionally pay for a workbook or something, but they're free of charge. And they're provided through local contributions, matching federal dollars to help stimulate knowledge so you can be informed in how to start a small business. And we want you to use those counselors. They're not the only counselors, because there are others. For example, we have informal partnerships with chambers of commerce throughout Alabama. And they have, like Steve is here, they have valuable inputs to small business creation in their communities. Seek out counseling. Seek out people who know what they're doing and have done it. Don't try to find all the answers yourselves. There are plenty of people who can help you and coach you. And SBA is a part of that. Now, another thing that we do very quickly is we are the gateway agency for certifying small businesses who want to sell to the federal government. And that's crucial because the federal government is the largest purchaser of goods and services in the world. Between $500 and $600 billion every year. They buy everything from paper clips to airplanes. Now, an important part of their contracting is that Congress has willed that 23% of everything they spend, all the federal agencies, has to be spent with small business owners. So we help promote that and help get small businesses certified either through certain self-designated categories like service-disabled, veteran-owned small business or small disadvantaged business, or actual application-oriented categories like 8A and HubZone. We help small businesses get that standing so they can start selling to the federal government. We also teach them how to relate to the contract officers. A third area of our expertise is in capital provision. And this is why we're here tonight, largely. With the exception of our disaster function, which only lends congressional dollars that are designated for victims of natural disasters, we guarantee money that the banks lend, their own money, their depositors' money or their share owners' money. They lend money, and if they want us to mitigate the risk, we guarantee a portion of the money. Our loans are known as risk mitigators. In other words, we're the bank on a conventional loan application feels there's some issues that would prevent them from doing it. They have the right to ask SBA to guarantee the loan, a federal guarantee. The guarantee runs from 50 to 90%. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the 90% level of guarantee from the federal government is for our exporting loans. We have three different varieties of that. Our loans are neatly divided between 7A loans and 504 loans. Our loans are for-profit businesses only. SBA guaranteed loans are strictly for small business. There are size standards that you have to meet. It's not for medium or large businesses. Now, there are certain sectors of the economy that we will not participate in. For example, we cannot finance gambling operations or insurance operations. And importantly, in Alabama, SBA's code prohibits us from making SBA guaranteed loans for passive investments, which means real estate. You cannot buy a shopping center or get an SBA loan to build a speculative piece of property or buy a inventory of homes and then rent them. Speculative real estate is eliminated by the code of federal regulations. That doesn't mean that a conventional loan won't make it possible for you, but an SBA guaranteed loan may be off the books because of that prohibition. And there are other prohibitions that we have. For example, we must insist that any business is open to the public. We do not provide SBA guaranteed loans for businesses that have limited membership. And If you're more interested in that, I've got a little booklet I'm going to hand out at the end here that you can reference our guidebook, and it will describe those in detail. So partnering with banks, both large and small, is a major effort of what I do. I try to talk to bankers every day and get a feel for what we can do to make our job easier. Increasingly, we're moving to a mechanized internet world where much of the documentation that used to be voluminous and detailed and onerous is now being encapsulated in electronic delivery and receipt. And that means we're making the job easier for banks to use our guaranteed loans. And that makes more loans available. Now, how big are we? It's often said that we have a very small percentage of the overall small business conventional loan market, and that is true. But here's the impact. In the 5 years preceding now, up until last month, during the height of the second greatest depression or recession in the history of America, SBA in Alabama alone has made about 2,000 loans. And those loans have totaled just under $1 billion for Alabama small business. And this will surprise you. The average loan size is about a little over $400,000. And that's an important contribution to the Alabama economy and to entrepreneurship in Alabama. We're proud of that, and we're going to hopefully maintain that and be even more important in the future. So our SBA guaranteed loans are an important part of what we do. Now, one aspect of our lending program is recognition that not everybody can go in and get a bank loan. As I mentioned earlier, there are people without collateral in America. That's a fact of life. Most people don't have ready collateral. That doesn't mean they're less enterprising. They just don't have the assets. And that often means that SBA has to furnish a tool to allow people to gain access to capital through our lenders, where some of the issues that prevent a bank from making a loan are not present. So many years ago, SBA set up a network of micro lenders around the country. They're nonprofit agencies, and we have a great example in Accion of one of those agencies here with us tonight. They're going to talk about their micro lending program. They serve a very valuable role in Alabama, extremely valuable role. And we're blessed to have 3 different micro lenders in the state. The largest one is Accion. Bo is going to talk about Accion and try to answer your questions about how microlending may be a solution to you. Now, I don't mean to suggest that those are the only microlenders around. There are other sources of microloans, even here in Dothan. Most of you know about the Southeast Alabama Planning and Development District microlending program. Some of their dollars come from the Economic Development Administration. The dollars that our microlenders share come from the 6 biggest banks in America. Chase Manhattan, Bank America, Citibank, blah, blah, blah. They give millions of dollars to SBA, who in turn gives it out to these microlenders to lend to people who cannot qualify for a bank loan. So with that, I'm going to introduce Bo Megason. He represents Accion in South Alabama, and he's also going to talk about his other role.
A little later on, thank you very much, Brent. Brent is a very, very valuable resource for you guys, along with Steve and his team, so take advantage of that. He's going to probably talk a little bit more and hand out to you, obviously, right now, one of these SBA booklets that has a lot of the information to go through. On the back, you'll find an Accion ad, and this is who we're going to talk a little bit about. As Brent mentioned, I've got 2 roles. I am in Mobile. I'm from Mobile. Came here this afternoon. I am the executive director of the Gulf Coast Angel Network, an angel investing group in Mobile. Started about 2 years ago. We just launched a group here in Dothan. And my counterpart here in Dothan is Mr. Davis Pinkelsheimer, right here. Davis runs the Angel Group here in Dothan. I believe next month you'll have the first presentation here in Dothan. What we do, again in Mobile, we are affiliated with groups like ours. And real quickly, I'll talk you through angel investing. I think probably for our purposes here, the Accion side, the Accion side is more applicable for what you guys want to do. Just so you'll know what we do and what Davis is going to be doing here. What we look for in the angel investing side are companies that we think will be worth 10 times in 3, 4, maybe 5 years, be worth 10 times then what they are now. That's the first question we ask. The minimum amount we invest in those companies is $350,000. First question we ask is, will this company be worth 10x in 3 to 5 years what it is worth now? If not, we don't bother with it. Only 5 things we don't do. People say, what kind of industries do you look for? Really anything except for 5 things. We don't do real estate. We don't do restaurants or bars. We don't do franchises. And we don't do brick and mortar retail. We do e-commerce, but not brick and mortar retail. So outside of that, everything's up for grabs. Last year in calendar 2013, we invested in 7 deals and put right at $4 million in those 7 deals. In 2012, we did 8 deals and we're about $2.5 million. This year, we saw our 7th deal of the year in Mobile last night. Right now, they're giving the presentation to our Huntsville group. They did Birmingham today at lunch. Because if we in Mobile, the Angel Investor Management Group manages not only our Mobile group and our Dothan group, but also Birmingham, Huntsville, Auburn, and another fledgling group in Montgomery. And we are all affiliated, and our members look at the same deals, and if they want to participate and invest, they do. As of right now, we did our 7th deal, or doing our 7th deal this week. We will probably be tracking somewhere between $5 to $5.5 million invested this year in early stage companies, which makes our group easily, probably the top, but I'll be conservative and say one of the top 2 most active organized early stage investment sources of capital in the Southeast. Us and the Atlanta Technology Angels are kind of right there together. So, which is very, in my opinion, very impressive for the state of Alabama, and for you to have someone here in Dothan bringing that to you. That we are, and I frankly think we're bigger than Atlanta, they just don't publicize what they do. So, that's what we do on the angel side. And with our process, and the way we became affiliated with the Accion, or I became affiliated with the Accion, is that with our process in the angel group, we look at and get about 35 applications a month. Who here has seen Shark Tank? Okay, so you know how they do it. They'll have 3 or 4, maybe 5 companies come in, they're pitching their ideas, they're negotiating on the fly, and it's not real organized. That's not what we do. We get about 35 applications a month and pick one. And then we do about 100 hours of research on that one. And we've had deals that we've killed because we found something in the research that said, that's just not something we want to do. Okay. But if they make it through that process, that 13-point analysis process that we do, then we let them go on what we call our roadshow and make their presentation to, usually during the 3rd week of the month. Our Auburn group on Tuesday at lunch, the Montgomery group Tuesday at 5:30, Mobile Wednesday at lunch and 5:30, Birmingham Thursday at lunch, Huntsville Thursday at 5:30. So we get them busy, but that's where we raise the money. Now, that's what we've been doing with the angel group. As a result of saying yes to one, that means we say no to 34. And we were looking for something that we could offer those other 34 other than sorry. And that's where we came across Accion, which is a micro lender and an incredible, again, Brent McMahon and the SBA are incredible partners. Okay? And what he talked about with regards to Steve and the SBDC, which is Small Business Development Centers, and the lady from Troy who comes down, utilize those resources because they are free. And I'm of the opinion, if it's free, give me 3, right? Because there's so many people there's so many things that aren't, and this is a very good resource. But with Accion, we came across the micro lender because Accion will lend to startups, to greenfield pure startups. It's a micro lender, the largest micro lender in the country. We will go from as little as $1,000, maybe actually less than that, $700, up to $250,000. We can do pure greenfield startups. Does everybody know what I mean by greenfield? It's just like a green, unplowed field. It's just very beginnings. We can start and go up to $50,000 of lending for a pure startup. Banks, of course, will tell you, we can't talk to you until you've had 2 years of audited financials. Well, how do you start a business if you can't get the money to borrow to get 2 years of financials? Well, that's where either an angel group or a friend or family, what they call friends, families, and fools, that don't give you money. Or you can go through someone like Accion. Okay. Now, you will need some collateral, and you will need to have personal guarantees for that. So, but we can work if you have maybe credit that's not sterling. We've worked with a lot of contractors in the last 3 or 4 years, had some challenges, as a lot of contractors did. And maybe they've got some equipment, maybe they've got a project that's giving them some cash flow, but they don't have the credit score anymore to allow them to get a greater line of credit. We can work with those kind of companies. So we can go up to $50,000 there. Once you've been in business 8 months, and I think most folks, Davis will tell you, you're still a startup. If you're a year old, you're still a startup, in my opinion. But for our purposes, Accion categorizes you as no longer a startup after 8 months. We can go up to $100,000 on loans if you've been in business 8 months. Now, you still have to make personal guarantees, okay? You still have to have some collateral. You still have to have, I'll say, above a 575 credit score, okay? And you cannot have had a bankruptcy in the last 12 months. If you're 24 months past it, depending on what it was, and if you've had all your discharges, there's some things we can do. 36 months, it gets even more lenient. Okay. But that's kind of what we do with Accion. We also work consultatively with folks to do some of the things that Brent was talking about without charging you for it. Now, we want to, of course, lend you money, and we want to be able to help you grow your business. But we can do that because I personally have done 3 startups myself. I've had some exits, and I've also had what I'll call an educational experience. Wasn't a failure. Some education. And it was probably would have cost me what an MBA would have cost me too. But that's okay. I just need to pay for it. But at any rate, if people that we have not only with Accion, and I have 2 counterparts in North Alabama, if we can convey to you the benefit of our experience, or my experience, because I can't speak to theirs, and I can't speak to yours, I can't speak to Davis's, can't speak to Brent's. I can just tell you what my experience was. What worked for me, what didn't work for me. It's amazing how your failures resonate and stick in your brain more so than your successes sometimes. You know, like, gosh, when I called her up and asked her out, I only said this when you said that. You forget about what you did say right, but you remember what you did wrong. And so if I can convey and help you those obstacles that you overcome, and what Brent was talking about earlier, professional services, those are invaluable. Because when you're performing your business, whatever it is, whether it's electronics or writing software or doing something with wireless, or it is a nail salon or a hair salon, or a concrete business, or whatever, fill in the blank. When you're performing whatever it is your skill, you're also going to have some obligations that have nothing to do with whatever it is your service is to your consumer. It has nothing to do with whether you're good at cutting hair or you're good at pouring concrete or whatever it is. You have things like 941 forms. Who knows what a 941 form is? And the state of Alabama does, because that's what you have to fill out for your income tax withholding for your employees. That's right. If you have employees, you have to fill out what's called 941. I personally believe that the more Americans we have filling out 941 forms on a weekly basis, the better off our country will be, but that's a whole other philosophical discussion. But you have to do those things. You have to fill out and file your Social Security withholdings. You have to pay your Medicaid. And if you have a restaurant, you have to make sure your health department visits are up to date and your health codes are right. If you have real estate, you've got to make sure your surveys are done. You don't have gas lines that are leaking, those kind of things. These are things that have nothing to do with your service, but they've got to be done. They're the junk, there's other words that might apply, but junk that goes with running a business. And if you don't do them, the authorities will find you and they will remind you that you need to do it. And it will not be a pleasant experience. Okay? And they will get their money in some way, shape, or form. Trust me. Okay? And that's an experience you don't want to go through. Okay? So you've got these resources. Utilize those, and they can marshal you through those things and that junk that you've got to do. And some people actually enjoy it, and God bless them for it. You know? Utilize those folks. I mean, you've got people that are accountants. I'm not, my gift, God didn't gift me to be a CPA and do debits and credits and get into the minutiae and the meticulous aspects of bookkeeping. Praise the Lord, somebody does have that gift. You know? So I can use those folks to be able to work the business and understand where I'm at, where the company is at. Okay, follow me? That makes sense? Okay. Likewise, you've got, and Brent will talk about it here a little bit, people like insurance. Now, in a lot of cases, insurance will be somebody pitching, you need to get my insurance, whatever it happens to be, and you got to have it. Okay, and you need to make sure you have a relationship with somebody you trust that's not just trying to mine a premium out of you, but can tell you, you know, your exposure for this really isn't that. You need to worry about over here. Now, you have, for example, if you're in a restaurant and you've got tile floors, okay, you may need to have a higher deductible for certain things because you have tile floors that are more susceptible to slip and falls. Or they may tell you, you know what, put down some carpet or some rubber matting over here and I can reduce your premium a little bit because your slip and fall exposure is less. Which you never would have known or probably even thought about. I mean, it makes sense, but you would not have thought about it if someone hadn't said, you know, this is something you may want to do or think about. And that'll apply in whatever different industries they are. But you've got to seek out the people with that knowledge so that you can benefit from it.
That's right.
Make sense? And again, we'll get, I don't want to get it out of Brent's slideshow because he's got a good point we'll go through. But those are things that you need from a professional services perspective to help your business grow. Okay. Now, from an Accion perspective, you're going to need, if you're a startup, how many people are doing a startup or have ideas for a startup they want to do? Okay, 1, 2, okay. Who has an existing business? Okay, all right. There's different things we can look at from both perspectives, but from a startup, you will need a business plan, as Brent mentioned. The SCORE website, just Google SCORE, which is Service Corps of Retired Executive, SCORE. I can't remember what the website is, but just Google that.
Score.org.
Score.org?
Oh, that's right.
They have a great template, business plan template, that will walk you through the basics of a good business plan. Okay? And then you get with Steve and let him direct you to who you need to talk to. Okay? But we are going to say, okay, you've got to, here's your business, you want to do this, what's your business plan say? Okay, and then we'll go from there. So if you don't have a business plan, you've got to get that. And then we'll look at what you want to do. But for your ongoing businesses, if you want to expand, okay, you've got maybe a good track record or you've got to hit a plateau, from a consultation standpoint, utilize some of the intellectual resources that are free, and I'll be glad to help you and work with you too and give you some ideas that maybe can help you get your business to where you want it to be. That's the other thing, and I'll shut up and let Brent come back, but think about, no matter what your business is, you have to have a vision for yourself of what you want your business to be, what you want your life to be from right now, okay? Because man without vision shall perish. Say maybe possibly couldn't my auto. It says shall. So, and I'm not going to say who that came from, you all know. Okay? So have an idea, where do I want to be? Where do I want this business to be in 4 or 5 years? Okay? And then once you've established what point B looks like, then you just re-engineer the pathway and the map back to how you get there. Well, I don't know how to get there. Well, that's the case for a lot of people. Okay? When the guys at the movie gallery started off, I don't think they had a real idea of what they had their hands on. They said, here's what we think we can be. Now, the whole landscape's changed, obviously, since then. But when they started off, they did very well because they said, here's where we want to be. Now, how do we get back to there from here? And that's how you work your plan. That's where your business plan comes in. Okay? So with that, I'm gonna let Brent come back. We'll be here for a little while tonight. Look forward to hearing what your ideas are, what your questions are, and hopefully we can help you move your businesses down the road.
Thank you, Bo. As you can see, Bo's a great resource. Let me say that we've got a short little presentation on professional services we want to talk about and show you, go through the slides, just 6 or 7 slides that I hope will give you some pearls of wisdom. But I'm going to stop right here and see if there are any real burning questions about what we've covered thus far in regards to the SBA, in regards to the Angel Network and Accion. Anything that's burning in the gut of any of you guys?
Well, I have a question about the SBA. When we was looking at buying a piece of property early in the year, and they told us that we can probably, because he's a veteran, that we could probably talk to someone at SBA. So I did up the business plan, and I met with Miss Judy them at the Chamber of Commerce, and they were very helpful on a lot of things that we had in our business plan. And she explained to me, she said, don't ever fall in love with your business plan. And it took me a couple hours to actually understand what she was saying. But my thing with the SBA is, if the bank don't approve you, what do they, like you apply for the SBA and then do they go back to the bank, or do the money come from the SBA, or how does that work?
The bank lends their money, and if they can't serve you conventionally in a conventional loan, they have the right to ask SBA to step in to guarantee a portion of the loan to help mitigate the risk. When I mentioned, as I did earlier, about no passive investments, I must explain that you can buy real estate with SBA loans. It has to be for purposes of owner occupancy. Okay? So we have loans that are used every day in Alabama for small business owners to buy land and equipment and real estate. But it has to be, quote, owner occupied. That's a truism of our guarantees. So passive investments are excluded. And here's how the process works. We partner with virtually all banks. There's what's called a basic 750 form. So virtually all banks have authority to make SBA guaranteed loans, but not very many of them do.
Wow.
Many of them, even if they have the authority, they have not inculcated federal government guaranteed lending as part of their offerings to their customers. And there are any number of reasons for that. Small banks hesitate to get into government lending because they don't want the extra cost involved with keeping up with the paperwork. There's a lot of old wives' tales about that. There's also probably a healthy skepticism on the part of many older Alabama bankers about whether the federal government should even be involved. And that they don't want the federal government in their business. So they philosophically decide that they're not going to do SBA lending, even though they may have the authority to do it. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, we have what are called preferred lenders. These are the big boys that have authority to do everything that SBA does in terms of review of loans and approval of loans on their own, because they are big enough and have enough resources to work in proxy for us. Those banks are the big boys, like Regions Bank, BBVA, Compass Bank, and a lot of out-of-state banks that are also bringing those preferred credentials in, like Wells Fargo, BB&T Bank, and Hancock Bank, Bancorp South, Community Bank, and a whole host of other banks that have come in from out of state and come into our area to offer lending. Many of them are preferred lenders, and they can use the preferred status. We also have a relationship called Express, which is a sort of an in-between preferred and the basic authority. Express banks can do working capital loans for a smaller guarantee, 50% in the case of Express. The advantage for a bank is they can use their own forms and get an instant approval for Express loans, hence the name Express. So those 3 levels of partnership enable us to span the waterfront in terms of the relationships that banks want to have with us. But we're constantly truing up, as I mentioned, our product and making it easier to use for bankers, because we want them to feel comfortable doing more SBA loans. Even as it is, as I mentioned, we do have valuable impact in terms of what we do and the size of our lending through the SBA guarantees. Did that answer your question? I mean, I went everywhere, but.
Yes, sir, you basically did.
But I'd like to ask a question, because we talk about these things at the Chamber of Commerce all the time. People come in. And this is the recommendation I made. I want to know if it's a valid recommendation as far as you're concerned, because the mechanics of exactly where do you start. And you mentioned some big name banks who do a lot of small business administration loans, but this Office of Advocacy publishes that list. It's usually 2 years behind all the time, and it'll actually list what the percentage of their loans were small business backed loans. And so it kind of gives you a scorecard. And my recommendation has been, look, if I was going to go do this, I'd want to make sure I approach one of those banks that actually shows an interest through that scorecard. I don't want to have to go to a bank and say, by the way, if my credit score is not such that you want to give me this loan, would you please see if you can get it back by the small business? I want them to be thinking about that. And so is that a valid?
Well, that certainly is a valid concern. The more
Well, how would you pick a
information
bank? You're going to get into this. How do you pick a bank?
Well, it begins with a banking relationship that you may already have as a depositor.
That's right.
Okay? That's where it
The
begins.
insurance agent, basically. Have a good relationship with the insurance agent that'll tell you these things. Same thing with the banker that'll give you some of that information.
That's right.
Well, like.
All small business is basically about relationships, principally relationships with your customers. But all those other professional services that you need and want begin with relationships. Often that means if you are new to an area and new to business and you don't have that relationship, then you simply knock on doors, introduce yourself, sit down and learn to talk to people about what they can do for you and how they can help you and what their experience is. Have they a whole cadre of small businesses that they're already assisting in your city? And if they do, then that means probably they're the kind of professional service that you want to consider becoming a counselor for your business. But it begins with relationships, talking to people about what your vision is. Bo mentioned having a vision. And I can't tell you how many small businesses in Alabama have started out with a person like you or like you sitting in front of a banker saying, you know, I'm getting tired of working for the man. I'm just about decided I'm going to go out on my own. I've got some skills that I believe people will want to pay me for in terms of what I can produce. And a banker, if he's got any sense at all, he'll want to encourage that and let you talk about it. He'll provide some coaching points at key points. And then later on, his motive is to eventually get you where you borrow money from him. And he can recoup his coaching to you through the interest rate and fees that he charges you for the loans you make with his bank.
Yeah.
But banks are competitive. Don't be afraid to shop around. And often you'll find the first bank you go to is really not interested in you. But the next bank may be. So you need to shop around. Same thing applies for the other professional services. And for that reason, I'm going to quickly go through some of these slides and let you look at some angles of professional advice that I believe may be of assistance to you. Now, let me ask this question. What's the first counselor you want to talk to? Okay, an accountant. Anybody else? Don't forget friends and family. They know you best. They know what your characteristics are and whether you have what they think it might take to be a successful business owner. Start with those people who know you. Ask them what they think about the idea of you going into business. There's a great book that's out, and the title escapes me, but this is an entrepreneur's Bible, so to speak. And he says that the way to start a small business is to think of the idea that you want to make money with, whether it's a product or a service. Ask your wife whether she would buy it.
All right.
And if she can't buy into what you're trying to do, think twice about it. Because the person who knows you best is your wife or your father or mother or brother or sister. Ask them for advice. All the professional services will follow, of course, and they'll want to offer their services to you for a fee. So you need to realize that that means when you shop for groceries, you go to where you get the best bargains. And when you shop for professional services, often you can overpay and not get what you feel like is the personal attention you deserve. So be prepared to shop around, not only for lenders, but also for these other services we're talking about. Now, you mentioned a CPA. Be important?
Well, I guess because I'm an accountant, I have an accounting degree, so, and I want to make sure that when I have the money is there, and that my taxes and everything, that I'm following the law to try to make sure that everything is straight with when I start hiring employees.
Okay. What else can an accountant do for you?
Pay my bills.
What else?
They can help you with your projections. As far as your business
There are a
plan.
lot of good answers for why an accountant would be an asset to you.
Mhm.
The principal reason is they tell you where you've been in creating financial statements, your balance sheet, your income statement, and they are the source of information from your business that goes eventually into the IRS and state tax authorities. They have legitimacy through having professional designations. Many of them offer business advice as well. Now, I would take that with a grain of salt, because often the role of a CPA is to tell you where you've been and not where you need to go.
Mm.
Often your entrepreneurial sense or judgment about an opportunity or the lack of an opportunity will come from your experience with the product or service and your customers, not from a CPA, although his assistance will be invaluable. What else? By the way, the CPA can keep you out of jail. As Bo mentioned, if you do not comply with government mandates on owning a small business, you will go to jail, and they will take everything that you own. So be very careful. It's not humor. It really is serious. What other kind of counselors are important?
You definitely need a lawyer on your side.
Why would you need a lawyer?
Well, like you said earlier about the restaurant, if they have the tile and someone slip and fall and that person is hurt, then you have your insurance to cover their fall or whatever. But if it's serious, then they might decide to sue, and then your lawyer can tell you the ins and outs of the case that you're not to pay.
Okay. There's this sense of control or counseling for legal liabilities, right? And that is the principle. You struck it right on the mark. The principal reason for having an attorney is to keep you out of liability, minimize your liabilities. Okay, and those include liabilities of the state and local authorities. And in the case of having, pray tell that you don't wind up in court trying to defend your business, having someone who knows your business and is capable of doing that in a court of law. Lawyers are indispensable, just like CPAs. Now, many of them have experience in many small business sectors, so they can give you, like a CPA can, a broader perspective on whether the small business model you're trying to create really is is mainstream, really works, and they've seen it work for others. Often, attorneys in communities turn out to be the biggest investors in small business because they have extra wealth to do that, and they know a lot of people, and they represent a lot of firms. And although most of their remuneration comes from per hour fees, often they have a chance to invest equity in small businesses that they respect and want to participate in. So they can be a coach more so than perhaps a CPA can. By all means, interview a number of different attorneys. Ask for advice from other small business owners and people you respect as to who could be an attorney to represent you. Make sure that you have an open, mutually respectful relationship, and that you are paying a reasonable fee for what they charge. You need to differentiate a friendship of an attorney from their billable hours. Because when you pick up the phone and ask them something, the clock starts. So you need to be very wise about the use of their hours, which often can run into the hundreds and hundreds of dollars per hour. So you need to be very careful about that. Now, what are the other counselors you need?
Insurance agent. Insurance agent.
Insurance. We've already talked about that. You mentioned earlier about somebody falling on your tile, or Bo did. You need to have proper business insurance. Now, what kind of insurance would you think you'd be required to get? First one's liability, right?
Mhm.
First one's liability. What else?
Workman's comp insurance.
You know,
Okay, that's a function of the government. You need that.
Property insurance.
Property insurance. If you have a fire in your business and it's a building, you don't want it to burn down without coverage. What other aspects can insurance agents help you with? Let me give you one. Key person insurance.
Mhm.
You've got a guy who works for you. He is absolutely indispensable to your business. He cannot be lost. So insure him. So you can find his replacement with money from insurance.
You know, I heard someone, Walmart has insurance on their employees, and when a friend of mine's family member passed, Walmart had the insurance, but it was not the insurance for the person. It covered to the cost to replace that employee.
Mhm.
And I thought that was weird, but then once you look at it, you think about it, even though like you said, if they've been there years, their service is invaluable, so you need the money to replace them.
Yeah, the longer an employee's with you, the more he knows about your business, the more indispensable his knowledge and wisdom and skills are to your business and its success, the more you want to cover that with proper insurance for perhaps the eventual loss of that key person. Insurance, accounting, our CPAs, legal attorneys, who else do you need as counselors?
Friends and family. You said friends and family first.
Yeah, that's part of it, for sure. They're not paid, and they're invaluable. I'm talking about management consultants.
SBA.
SBA is one of them. Now let me give you a contrast. You can go out and pay thousands of dollars per hour for management consultants. Because, I mean, literally, there are some that are beyond description in terms of what they can furnish you, but you, as a small business owner, may not be able to afford that.
Right.
So where can you go if you can't afford a for-profit consulting service?
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, nonprofits. Nonprofits, they're here. We've talked about them. These counseling agencies, the SBDC, the Women's Business Center, the SCORE chapters, the local Chamber of Commerce, the local Planning and Development District, any number of other counselors who can help you free, most often free of charge. You can use those people. And you don't need to just go to them one time when you start. You can talk to them about operational issues and growing your business and expanding it. So I mentioned earlier the growing importance of social media in the selection of products and services. What percent do you think people use their smartphones for buying products and services? What's the percentage now?
85%.
It's not quite that high, but it's awfully close to that.
It's like 60 or 70.
This generation, this millennial generation uses smartphones for everything. Somewhere around 75% of their choices of where to go to buy food, objects, services, come from what they read on their smartphones. And where do they get that information?
From there.
Is it always in the tiny little ad in the corner?
Mm-mm.
No, it comes through social media. It comes from social media. Imagine this. A woman puts a question into her Facebook page and says, does anybody know a good blah?
Yes.
Question mark. And guess what? She gets
All kinds of
3 dozen answers within 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And where is she going to start her searching?
From the
Ones that were highly
suggested, right?
recommended, right? So you need to have a social media consultant. They're worth their weight in gold nowadays, especially if you're selling a product or services that's designed to be sold to young people. Or if you're a restaurant, where word of mouth is so crucial in terms of reputation. So have a social media expert that you can go to. And I'm going to tell you something that you already know. Often it will be the teenager that you know best.
Yes, yes.
She will know how to use social media in a way that's effective. Okay, what other counselors do you need?
Probably banking.
I'm sorry?
I was thinking maybe a banker, a good banker.
Okay, you want a lender, we talked about that a little earlier. You want a lender you can depend on. Now let me give you a neat format for you as a small business owner. Develop an advisory board. It's not a board of directors. Ask 4 or 5 people that are in these crucial professional service aspects of the local community to serve as on your advisory board. And often they'll do it for free. Meet with them once a quarter or twice a year and ask them to assess your business for you. Frequently you'll find that these people are knowledgeable about other businesses, and they've learned from their other associations the things that you ought to know, and they're willing to share those in confidence. An advisory board, people are often flattered to be invited to be members of advisory boards for local businesses. You'd be surprised. But these people may be the single best source of information for you, because they're going to keep you on balance, keep you on the course. They're going to give you recommendations at the right time so you can alter what you're doing, make it more effective. And a local advisory board. And you can play up those people. You want to make sure they're appreciated and that they know they're appreciated. So when you choose them, have a regular series of meetings where you discuss your business and ask them to share with you their perspectives. And it's amazing how many will just simply do it for free because they want to help. Any other counselors we've missed at all? Yes, sir.
About marketing.
There! that's part of this management consulting area. Marketing is often something that small business owners feel a lot of ignorance about. And social media is one aspect of that, but there are other marketing techniques that you need to learn. Mass mailing, marketing research, the selective use of electronic media like radio and television, using the U.S. mails. Constant contact is a method for $20 a month where you as a small business owner can have constant emails going to clients that you've developed their email list from. So these are all aspects of marketing that you'll want to take into account as you try and grow your business. You're really good. You got any others? It's
What
been-
about business ethics? Who would you go to for business ethics?
Yeah, well, you would think that the lawyers would be the source of that. The advisory board is going to hopefully have the kind of people on it that will coach you in ethical behavior and what you should be doing. It's not unheard of to have a pastor of a church on your advisory board.
Yes.
Sometimes in a community, they're very influential and they have deep connections and the right moral values, of course. Am I forgetting anything? I didn't go through the slides.
I think that's fine. I
But,
think it's 7 now, so we just, see if anybody has any questions then.
Any questions at
We'll wrap it
all,
up.
Bo or me?
We do the slide.
What's that?
So we don't need to do the slide?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He basically went through his slideshow with that.
But I'll tell you what I can do is I can post them on that website that we use and we'll let everybody know.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you don't
thank you
mind.
for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes PowerPoints put people to sleep. Thank you for being here. Really, it's been a joy to be with you, and I hope we've said something that's helpful for you. By all means, you have contact information for Bo and me, and if we can help you, by all means, call us. My name, number, telephone address, and all of that is on page 6 of that guide that I handed out. And Bo is handing out his little booklet.
Okay.
My phone number is on the back page of that booklet that Brent handed you, the advertisement on the back.
Occupied.
Here's some information on Accion.
Thank you.
Like the owner's we're gonna run the business.
It's going to house your business.
Okay. That's the only thing I really couldn't trust.
That's fine, but I'll introduce you to
You
everybody.
all don't really.
You actually have to have 51% occupancy
And rate.
on your small
Right.
business. 49%
Because you're doing government contracts.
still get an SBA guaranteed
They
loan.
can help you out.
Not
probably.
like
So you can have a mixture, but you have to have 51%. The majority of the floor space has to be used by the owner occupant and the borrower.
I have.
Those are his.
I-
The booklets, yes.
I do have, how many do we need?
I just need one.
You just need one? I've got some more in the car, I can get you one.
And someone asked me if there was applications. We have an online application that you can go to, fill out there. If you have questions about getting through that, it'll take you about 20 minutes to probably get it out all done. And it's really the most efficient way, because if you do a paper app, then we send it in and my processor will get it, and she's got to hand put everything in. And if you go ahead and do it electronically, it gets you into the system and into your processing phase much more quickly. So, but if you go to...
Which one are you talking about? Excuse me.
That's fine. No, the loan, Accion loan program. The website is Accion Texas, ACCIONTEXAS, Accion Texas, .org. And we're in Alabama, and my email says Accion, Alabama. But our processing facility is in San Antonio. So we just send it all back to the Texas location. Yes, ma'am.
I've got a couple questions. The first one is, I wanted this gentleman to clarify the comment earlier about the banks, and then I want to say all of it together, so I won't forget it. The Angel Accion relationship, and then I guess there's a third one about the connection with all this with the colleges, like Troy University, because at the last session I was at, this gentleman, the professor who spoke. Yeah. And I was just interested on how it all fits together.
Go ahead, Steve, you answer.
Okay, now, so I brought up the Office of Advocacy, and they published a list, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, about the bank, about bank selection, the ones who are more.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, but what was Brent saying is you need to establish a relationship with the bank, but I think what he's telling
We
me.
have those lists available.
Is that if you're gonna establish a relationship, you may wanna see what their track record is, and then establish a relationship there, and that's kind of what I was asking.
Oh,
Yeah.
and not waste your time with those who are not.
It would seem, yeah. In other words, and as far as a relationship with all of us, now, the university is a prime mover, prime, participant in the thing that brought this together in the first place, and that is the symposium that the mayor put together. And it's been going on for 4 years now. And so the university really has a key role in it this year as far as planning it and running it. And so, and they also have an entrepreneurship program at the university, which is ongoing or being planned?
It's
being set up right now.
Okay. So they are a great resource, and also that Small Business Development Center, as was mentioned by Brent, is housed at Troy University at Troy, but it's part of the bigger umbrella of the university system.
Right.
So they are an integral part of the community. They can do research. They have the programs, the entrepreneurial programs, and he's deeply involved with this and the symposium put on by the state.
And individuals can access that, or you go through someone else?
No, this is a open enrollment, easy access. You can enter. You can come down and see Devin. And I have to apologize to Devin because I was going to introduce him at the beginning, and he let me off the hook. Said, I've already met most of these people before, but
Well, more people started coming in as we went on.
okay. But here's the thing: is that Devin is basically the manager of this facility. So if you need space, and that's what he's all about, is space to start your business at a reasonable cost, then, and when they talk about the space, we also talk about the infrastructure that goes along with it. The phone line, the computer line, the desk, the meeting rooms, the copy machine, the 24-hour access, the answering service.
Yeah, that's where the term incubator comes from. Basically, it provides the best possible environment for something to grow.
Right.
Which in this instance is going to be your business. Start, sustain, and grow.
Right, without all those extra costs up front.
Minimize your overheads when you're doing.
So any of us, you can come and talk to us anytime, and what we can do is point you in the direction where we think you'll get the most beneficial aid. I know a lot of things just by being there and being asked questions for the last 14 years that I've had to go look up the answer to. I'll be able to provide you those answers. But some things, Brent knows much more about many of these things than I do. Devin knows about the incubator. All I know is he's here and they have reasonable space, and then at the college, of course, so you see what I'm saying? Is we all connect you to who we think is going to give you the best assistance. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question for the gentleman. Now, you're with the Angel Donors here in Dothan. What all type of businesses do you all sponsor or loan to?
That's a good question. The overall process would be, in the stage you are right now, is really to go through these tools. And let's say you find something that all of a sudden you're expanding and you're going from just Dothan, all of a sudden I want to tackle the southeast. So then that's where we come in, is when you're going from, I've got this idea, I've worked in this industry for a while and I just think there's a better way to do it. And we step away from that for a second. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a gentleman, had no formal education. He was homeschooled by his mother. His father could not hold a job, but he created one of the strongest companies in the world, it's General Electric. His name was Thomas Edison. And what he did is he looked around and saw improvements. That's how he saw the world. There's a better way to do it, and then he invented. And so I hope that is for all of you that are sitting here, as you see the world, is there a better way to make this more efficient? Is there a better way to do it? And he didn't have any resources back then. He just had a desire to create. And so you all have that too. And so that to answer your question is you're starting on that, and your vision might be for the whole country at some point, but you got to start here
Right.
And then that's where these partnerships, you have the resources.
And Wanda, he and I are on the same team.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And the three things that we'll really look for initially, in addition to scalability, which means can this business entity, whatever it happens to be worth 10 times what it is now within 4 or 5 years. We look for initially proof of concept. Okay. Is there some traction in the marketplace already where they've got proof of concept? Second is, again, traction in the marketplace. Okay? And they started to show that they can scale up. And the third is management team. And I would say more than half of the evaluation process is tilted by the quality of the management team. Have they already done something like this or proven historically that they can take a company from the embryonic stage up to where it's worth a lot more? And if the answer is no, then we'll pass on and try to offer them a loan. Does that make sense?
What I have here is our local microloan program application. We do have, it was mentioned through the Regional Planning Commission. If you'd like one of these, I'll pass it on to you. You bet. And the website, let me cover this website again, because all the programs we do, we post on the website. It's www.wpri.info. WPRI.info. And I'm going to take these slides and put them on there. Now, on that webpage, www.wpri.info, on the right-hand side is a column. There's like 20 pages in that website. You want to go to entrepreneurial small business development, and you'll see the programs, and we'll put down there slides from, and I'll put today's date. So if you want to go in there and see what Brent had on there, then you'll be able to do that. But we've got a lot of resources on that website. Well, hey, let's give these presenters a hand. I think they did a great job.
Let me show to our folks back at home what folks are here.
Outstanding.
Don't forget yourself now.
See me.
McRoy, did you want to close out?
Yeah, I can close up.
No, I'm actually, I didn't know those
All right, everyone. Y'all learned something today? Yes. It was a good, wonderful presentation, wasn't it?
Yes.
All right. It's almost, not almost, it reinforces what we spoke about earlier, right?
Yep.
You got to have that plan. Once you got that plan, you got what? That roadmap. Once you got that roadmap, now you can talk to these young gentlemen right here who have the money to help you take it to that next level. And even with your business growth, there's different levels. You got that first month. You get what I'm saying? You starting out, you got your idea, you got your plan, but they look at it one way. But as you've been in business for a while, what did I say about? Eventually you're going to have to do what? Restructure your plan. So once you restructure your plan, these guys will be available once again to take you from, hey, that infancy stage, that little baby growth, to, hey, like he said, conquering the southeastern region. So, hey, we thank y'all for coming out. We hope we've educated you. Hope y'all will get motivated, get ready to move out there, start your business, and always keep dreaming. Keep dreaming. All right,
Did you want to mention the 17th of September?
Oh, goodness, yeah. I don't want to forget that. Another reason y'all want to have your business plans ready. It's a big event coming up on the 17th of September. We're having an economic development summit. We haven't quite come up with a name for it, but I know it's going to be geared more towards entrepreneurship. And it's presented by the City of Dothan. Mayor Mike Smith started the program probably, about 4 or 5 years ago with the Economic Summit on Jobs. We're restructuring it, and we're redoing it. And our focus, because we're one of the major groups that have been doing something, this year is going to be entrepreneurship. And so that's why we say you got to have your business plan, because when you register, it hadn't gotten up on the site yet, so keep looking to the City of Dothan website. I believe it may be another name by that time, but right now it's called the Economic Summit on Jobs.com, something like that. On the site, when you get ready to register, they're going to ask you if you have a business plan. I'm giving y'all some heads up. Y'all came to this event, y'all got some heads up. They're going to ask you if you have a business plan. You can submit your business plan. Out of the business plan submitted, they're going to pick probably about 4 or 5 of those business plans, and y'all are going to be able to participate in a Shark Tank endeavor during the course of the event that we're going to be hosting and having. Also get your business cards and everything ready. Our group is probably going to be putting on, or not probably, our group will be putting on a function afterwards for you to do some networking. Because that's what we want you to do. We want you to get this knowledge, get educated, and once you get out there, we don't want you to fall down by yourself not knowing where to go and what to do, or get discouraged once again. We want to put you with a group of people just like yourself who want to do something. So we said we want to have a networking event right after that so you can get with those guys and start doing something in our community. Because with economic development, we can make Dothan a better place. As I told Mike Smith and the rest of the guys at the meeting, we can be the next Silicon Valley. And all it takes is the right people and the right mindset and the right businesses. Thank y'all once again for coming. We appreciate it.
Everybody, on the back of this, thank you for so I don't inundate you with paper. On the back here, my phone number is at the very bottom. On one card, of the little card I gave you, is a 205 number. That's Birmingham, obviously. That's this phone, so I will get it. But if you want to call it the 251 number, that's this phone. It's on there as well. So if you have any questions at all, please give us a call. Myself or Brett would be glad to talk to you as well. And thank you for what you did.
Thank you. Anytime.
I'm sorry.
Hey, man, good to see you too. That's no problem. I'm glad you made it. Next time, video tape like that for me.